Does this, if I want to, I can remove this and be mobile.
Take it out.
It is good, and I am grateful to be with you this morning. And I'm grateful to have met you. And new friendships are wonderful, and old friendships are wonderful. And the love of my life is here. She's in the back of the room. Her name is Milagro. And I talked her into coming, and it didn't take much. So I'm grateful that it doesn't take much to talk a 10-year-old to come listen to me run my mouth for 20 minutes or so. I've done this a lot, stand in front of rooms of people and give an address, a speech, a sermon, whatever you want to call it. And I'm better at it now than I've ever been. And that's for one reason. It's because I know myself finally. And it's taken a long time to actually become authentic. My journey has been a wild one, as most of us are. The human condition's a wild thing, isn't it? To be a human being. It'd be interesting to sit around in a circle someday when we have enough time. If everybody could tell their story, how fascinating it would be. But there's nothing easy about being a human being. Why is that? Because of where we come from. Where do we come from? The infinite. To descend, if you will, into this experience from an infinite body is a trip. We all come from the infinite. It's the only place we could possibly come from, is an infinite mind, an infinite being. To even try and comprehend that with our human mind, our human brain, is impossible. You know, short circuit material. But it is where we come from. And the greatest challenge that we live with, as Paramahansa Yogananda says, is ignorance. Our greatest sin, if you will, not that we talk about sin, right? We don't do sin, but we do make mistakes, don't we? But the greatest illusion that we live with is that this is the end game, being a human being. And it's not. And we get caught up, again, in what Yogananda calls the Maya, which is the stuff, which is the form. There was a gal walking around in the lobby earlier this morning when we got here, and her shirt simply said, mind over matter. Mind over matter. We talk about that pretty nonchalantly, right? This whole idea of mind over matter. But that's literally what the spiritual walk is. Mind over the issues of our lives. Our spiritual mind, it's said in, what is that curriculum? The 4 T's curriculum? Who created the 4 T's? Anybody know the 4 T's curriculum? It's a prosperity course. No, but she does a prosperity course. I can't remember his name right now. It's a guy. Anyway, he talks about dropping your head into your heart and living from there. Drop your head into your heart. The head is caught up in matter. It problem solves, right? What does the brain do? It thinks. Thank goodness. The brain thinks. It is here to assist us in moving through life, to problem solve, to examine the challenges that we're faced with, to come up with solution, to be inspired. The brain's a fascinating organism. It's here to help us. It also gets us in trouble. I know it has for me. I tend to get excited and project, so I trust the microphone situation is being managed. Can you hear me on Zoom? I'm sure you can. I was just thinking when Gene was singing, I'm talking to myself. I'm entertaining myself. I do that more and more nowadays. I'm hearing Gene sing and the people on Zoom, I'm like, that's like the voices in our heads, isn't it? There they are. We don't want them there, but there they are. Oh, the brain thinks. It's here to assist us, but it also, in my life, has gotten me into a world of trouble. Because what I haven't done so much is drop my head into my heart and live from there. And it is a practice. We call it spiritual practice. It's a practice, right? Anybody heard of Michael Jordan before? Anybody sports fans in here? Or who's the chess master from, there's a couple of them, Adam Fisher, and who's the other guy from, anyway, right? So someone could be athletically or intellectually inclined, but what do they also do to become masters at their craft? They practice. There's a course in the Center for Spiritual Curriculum called Self-Mastery. I've never found anybody master themselves over 10 weeks, but it's a good vision to chase after, right? Self-mastery. In order to master something, we must practice it. And even mastery is a bit of an illusion in the human condition. But at least we're moving in what? A direction. We're moving in a direction for a greater freedom. And that's my word in this life. I came to it a long time ago, is freedom. To be free. To be free in this humanity, in this skin. So I want to share with you a formula that I came up with about 4 or 5 years ago, as I was really wrestling down deep with some stuff. I went into a deep darkness for a number of years in my life. Anybody familiar with darkness? Darkness is excruciatingly difficult to be in, and yet, what does the seed need to grow? Where does it start? Down in the dark, doesn't it? Those rose bushes. We just moved here about 3 months ago. I digress. I do that from time to time. And then I'm going to ask you to remind me where I was because I'll forget. And that's also a way to make sure that you're paying attention, right? The rose bushes out in front of my house. Somehow, I mean, everything grows from someplace, right? We moved here about 3.5 months ago to this land of enchantment. Spectacular. And we didn't know, but they hadn't bloomed yet, and now they're blooming. But there's like 7 or 8 rose bushes out in front of our house, and I take time every day to go smell those puppies. I mean, they're the most gorgeous rose I ever smelled is called a Barbara Streisand. Any rose folks in here? Barbara Streisand, I smelled it out in front at the Rose Garden at the Mission in Santa Barbara. There's a magnificent rose garden there, and I went with my ex-wife many, many, many years ago and smelled all these roses, and the one that smelled the most fragrant is a Barbara Streisand, who, by the way, has one of the most exquisite voices God ever created. So everything grows from something. These rose bushes and all their beauty and glory came from something, but everything starts down underneath in the darkness. The seed, what does the seed do? It just surrenders to the process. When I'm in the darkness, do I surrender to the process? Right. I don't think so. I kick and scream and say, it sucks to be in here. It doesn't feel good to be in here. I just want to be anywhere but here. And I forget that being in the darkness from time to time is appropriate. More than appropriate, it's necessary. And so out of this time of darkness that I experienced, I was given a gift. And it's a gift that I utilize. And it is a formula. And I believe God gave it directly to me. And so I'm going to give it directly to you. In hopes, you're talking about self-care this month, essentially, right? This is tremendous self-care for me. Because I feel like I'm living in a time of light right now. But guess what's down the road a bit? A darkness. The greatest truth we can find, if we really want to take the human condition out of the spiritual path, if we want to take our assessment of it, and if it's appropriate or not, out of the whole equation, we can look to nature. Look to nature. And there is a pure blueprint for how the spiritual path, the spiritual process works. Every cycle, there is what? A winter. Every cycle, there's a winter. What happens in winter? We all know this. The days get shorter and they get darker, don't they? And what is it? It's appropriate, isn't it? I mean, I don't want to live in a world where all of a sudden for the next couple of years, we take winter out of the equation. We don't want to mess with that process, do we? So it's appropriate. But oftentimes I don't honor it appropriately and understand how magnificent that time is. Because what? It doesn't feel good. What feels good when the sun's out? I mean, to me, what feels good, 74 degrees, winds, south-southwest at about 3.5 miles an hour. That's what feels good to me. Is every day like that? Of course not. I have my preference. We all have our preferences, right? But so much of the spiritual walk, the spiritual path, is coming to understand acceptance and release. We sing it, right? I think I release and I let go. Are we familiar with that song? Such a beautiful prayer there. So here's the formula. Enough build up. And this is my formula, which brings me to the title of the day, which is Get Unstuck and Start Living. Anybody ever been stuck? I have been stuck hundreds of times in my life. Some little ones, I just don't know what to do. I don't know what to do here. I'm stuck. And oftentimes that's just simply, I do know what to do, but I don't trust myself. I don't trust because I'm so wrapped up in the Maya, the human stuff, right? You're going to have to help me with time, okay? Okay. And then I'll just get going. Because the build-up's already been long enough. I think I've wasted half of my sermon, and I haven't even gotten to what I want to talk about. But we know how that worked, doesn't we? Don't we, Deborah? We show up with a plan, and then what happens? Life, spirit takes over. That's 100%. That's acceptance, too, though. That's part of it. So this is to get unstuck. And this isn't to try and never have the darkness happen again, but it's a process of surrendering into the process, of surrendering into the natural order of things. There will be a fall, there'll be a winter, there'll be a spring, and there'll be a summer. And at different parts of the world, it shows up differently, but we have the seasons. Where I just come from, Palm Springs. I said I was going to give you the formula, and here I go again. I'm not going to give you the formula, apparently. I just came from Palm Springs, right? So winter, the days are shorter, but it's like that's when it gets perfect in the desert. And in the summer, it's far from perfect. I mean, there's a big difference between 100 and 115, I'm here to tell you. But there's still the seasons. It's still appropriate. And it's still appropriate in that part of the world for what happens in that part of the world. And it's the same for each one of us. Deborah's flow of the seasons is appropriate for Deborah. Charles' flow of the seasons is appropriate for Charles. And we can't compare it to a different part of the world or a different human being. And sometimes when I'm in the dark, I need Deborah to say, just embrace the dark right now, Charles. It's appropriate. You're growing a new seed. There's a gift here. And I'm here to see you through it. I'm here to stand with you. So here we go. Here's the formula of how to get unstuck. And really unstuck is simply to be as water and what? Flow. That's what Bruce Lee talked about, right? Be as water and flow. Okay, here we go. I'm going. I promise. The first step is acknowledgement. So there's an action, if you will, even though it's an interaction or an outer action. There's an action and a spiritual quality that goes along with this formula. So the spiritual quality is an inward posture. It's a way of being inside of ourselves. So if I'm stuck, sometimes I need help acknowledging that I'm stuck, but the first thing I need to do when I'm stuck is to acknowledge that I am stuck. How do I know I'm stuck? I'm frustrated, probably angry more than usual. All right, there's emotional feedback inside of me. I'm stuck because I'm irritable. It's like, when you're hungry, you're irritable, you're discontent, everything bothers you. You're very botherable. You're stuck when you're particularly botherable, all right? And someone might come up to you and say, Charles, you've been a little bit botherable lately. And I'm like, no, I'm not. And they're like, and then I have to acknowledge, I'm botherable. I'm stuck somewhere. And I have to acknowledge it. Everything, every shift, every growth, every transformation starts with an acknowledgement. A humility. The inner posture is humility. to be humble. An acknowledgement of this is where I'm at. Oh, I'm stuck. Oh, I'm botherable. I'm irritable. I'm not my best self right now. Let me acknowledge it. Point one. Point two is to tell the truth about it, and this is honesty and integrity. And you don't just walk around and tell anybody the truth about it, because they're not going to understand. Oh, I'm particular, whatever, the barista at the coffee shop. I've been really irritable and botherable lately. Who's this dude? Get a trusted somebody. A friend, a partner, a husband, a wife, a lover, a counselor, a therapist, somebody. Tell the truth about the dimensionality of it. The hole that lives inside of me is insufferable. It is, I'm getting more clear. I know I talked about at the beginning, my authenticity, like I'm really getting to know myself. Part of that is getting so aware of the dimensionality inside of me of this insatiable hole that exists there. There is not enough of anything in this life to bring me real fulfillment. Nothing. And it comes close. Comes close. Oh, but there's times I need space. No, good. Headphones are on. It's about the closest thing. It's about the closest thing. But truly, because back to the beginning, where we come from is an infinite, how in this realm can we ever really fill that up? How can we ever create something that's so deeply fulfilling is still stopping short of where we come from? I acknowledge I'm stuck. I tell the truth to somebody about it. This is where I'm stuck. I'm up against it in this work project. I'm up against it in my spiritual growth and development. I'm up against it in my relationship. Where's the magic? I'm up against it in my spiritual community. I'm up against it with trying to find an issue for the unhoused. We're up against it. We're stuck. And this is how I'm stuck. And only you know the dimensionality of your stuckness. Only you know the depth of what you're going through. So again, this is all a process to get unstuck, because we all get stuck. But this is really about self-care and living a life that we love. So we acknowledge where we're stuck. We tell somebody the truth about it. And then we choose, after we get clear about the dimensionality of it, the dimensions of it, what's really happening inside of us, why I'm so botherable. We choose what we really want. I know so much in my life, I've just wandered around life kind of going as the wind blows, which sometimes that's great. But there are certain things that I want in my life. I want to be an extraordinary father. Sometimes I still feel real stuck in my fatherhood. I'm just not doing good enough. Whether I am or not, it's an entirely different thing. I could line up 100 people that say, Charles, you're the best dad in the world. And believe me, I try and do that as often as I can. I want to hear it. But that's still not going to do it inside of me. I need to know something. And what I want is to be the best dad there is. So that's what I really want. And when we can acknowledge what we really want, we get really interested in it. Not what we don't want or what's not working, but what we do want. What we're interested in. A new career, a new job, or a breakthrough in our marriages or relationships. A new business opportunity or a breakthrough in a current business, a new home. A solution for the unhoused. I keep bringing that up. Can I? Because it's one of Deborah's things we talk about it. You know, she's this massive, heartful commitment for housing for all. That's a big vision. I could see getting stuck in the midst of that conversation. What we're interested in. Sometimes in the human condition, we're so focused on what's not working, and we get stuck in what's not working. Whoo, and I get real good about telling the story about what's not working, right? This is called drama. I'm good at drama. I'm hoping and working on being less good at drama and more good at just joy and fulfillment and less good at drama. But I can enroll you in my story real quick, right? But do we really want that? There's a yearning within each one of us for a greater and deeper and fuller expression of life. And when we're stuck, we're thwarting that. No wonder we're irritable and discontent. Because there's a yearning, the same way that that seed has a yearning to pop up through the soil and experience the sunlight of its beauty and all of its glory. The sun feels better, but the soil's appropriate. There's a yearning. And if we're stuck and we're keeping ourselves there, we're piling it on. There's a call for us to break through in our soul. What are you being called to break through in? So choose what you really want. What's calling at your heart? What do you really want? And it doesn't have to be some significant, massive thing. More peace. A sense of calm inside of myself. One of my big things for the last few years is I just want to walk softer through life. I just want to walk a little softer through life. I've done enough railroading of people. I've done enough forcing to try and get my own way. I just want to be a little softer, more vulnerable, more heartful. And then I get to show her, hopefully, what it means to live with some peace. The next thing we have to do is, after we choose what we really want, is we have to act. And step 4 is you have to make a bold move. A bold move. This is scary. Because all of a sudden we get outside of the work inside of ourselves where it can be really safe, and then we start to present ourselves to the world. You have to make a bold move. A bold move. No one knows what that bold move is, and no one gets to define what bold means for you. Bold could be putting on your pants one day and walking down to the end of the driveway to get the newspaper, because you're so deeply entrenched in the dark. Bold could be enrolling in a parenting class. Bold could be being so vulnerable that I acknowledge that my parenting, quite frankly, sucks. And I want to get a group of people around me that I think they're amazing parents, and I form a parenting group. That could be a bold move, because what I want is to be a good dad. A bold move could be to move to a different town. A bold move could be to really pray on it, quit the job you're at because you've been there for 20 years and it's been hell, and you're willing to roll the dice and take a risk with support of community, which is the next step, and we'll get to that, to move into a new career. A bold move. How can we make a bold move and trust? Because we remember through our practice where we come from. That God never created no junk, and it didn't create us just to throw us out here and abandon us. Fail, and I'm just going to leave you over there to do it, kicking and screaming in pain for all eternity. That's the Christian idea of hell, and we don't do that. And we don't do that because that doesn't exist. A bold move. What's a bold move? To have a conversation with somebody you've been really afraid to have, but to do it from a place of vulnerability and love, trusting that love will always win. Trusting that freedom will always win. And if you're moving in the direction of your freedom, which is what you really want, if you're moving in the direction of your freedom, you'll always win. Not over somebody else, but in life. In your own life. What is your bold move? And the last step of this is to create a system of accountability. And that is your community and your commitment. I think I've missed some of the qualities here too. Choosing what you really want is conviction and decisiveness. Making a bold move is courage. And creating a system of accountability is commitment. So as you're getting unstuck, you actually get trusted individuals around you who are willing to stand for you. And if you're not living up to your bold move or what you say you want to do, say, Charles, have you blah, 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 blah today? Have you called Walter about forming that parenting group? Have you called Deborah about being on her team for the, whatever it might be? Then you have a system of loving accountability. All right, I get that you don't want to do your 100 push-ups today, but let's do them. I get that you don't want to go get your, 5,000 steps in. Time to go for a walk. I get that you don't want to brush your teeth. Every day. We got to brush our teeth. Yeah. We got to brush our teeth. We got to do it. It's good for us. It's good for us. What's good for you? Let's move in the direction of what's good for us. And what's good for us is a greater expression and more love. And that everybody has housing. I'm just picking on that one because it's good. So, what's the formula? Acknowledge that you're stuck. Tell the truth about it to somebody. Choose what you really want. Make a bold move. Create a system of accountability. Rinse and repeat over and over and over again. Humility, honesty, conviction, courage, and commitment. And what comes out of all of that is the ultimate F word, baby. Freedom. Freedom. A life of freedom. Those are all some pretty cool qualities. We could get behind those, right? Can you get behind humility? Sure. Honesty? Yes. Conviction? I'm answering for you. Because I know where resistance lies. I mean, I get it. Conviction? Yes. Courage? Yes. Commitment? Yes. Freedom? Yes. Right? That's what we do. This is a practice. The greatest basketball player that ever lived didn't come out of mom's womb being able to, a globetrotter. They had to work on the fundamentals and practice. That's what we all got to do. So what are you interested in? Let's get about practicing it for self-care and to live a life that we really love. What do you think? You up for it? If you want your good, you're going to have to work on your own behalf. Because also one of the things I've found is that the good life doesn't just come knock on my door while I'm sitting on the couch eating a bag of Ruffles. I've tried it, believe me. That was part of that darkness for years. I tried just sitting there hoping that the good would come knock on my door. Oh, Charles, yes. Here's a $250,000 a year job, complete with all of these wonderful perks. Welcome. That ain't showing up. We got to champion ourselves. This is the work. Deborah mentioned I'm a retired minister. I am. I'm a retired minister. This is the work that I do, how do you say it now? I guess beyond church walls, if you will. And this is the business that I'm building in a way that I'm interested in contributing here, and which is why I'm so grateful to have met Deborah as well. Just as it's nice to have champions in your life. This is the work that I'm up to, working with individuals and groups for real freedom. And if that's something of interest to you, I also left some information in the back. That's just a little shameless plug because, I'm doing my best not to move through life with much shame anymore because whatever, right? So anyway, if you're interested, there's some information in the back of the room. I invite you to take some. Thank you, Mila. What's that? Yeah, why not? Maybe you'll never have me back to speak again. That's fine. It's all good. But I really do love being here and appreciate you. And Deborah, I appreciate you very much for the opportunity. I love you all. Thank you so much for letting me share this morning.